Good day, Ma'am Kolahara and to the audience. My name is Ned Markel Pihaujan and I'm going to present the first part of our argumentative essay. So the topic that we've chosen is the sexual practices. So first and foremost, let's discuss what is the definition of sex. So in Merriam-Webster Dictionary, sex is defined as a physical activity that is often related to a sexual interaction. When one gains knowledge about the concept of sex, it would result to individuals having a better understanding on the capabilities of their bodies and health risks that come with it. An individual has the capability to produce hormones that can increase the urge to the act, which can result to pregnancy. Sex leaves a great impact in one's life because of the consequences such as sexually transmitted diseases or the STD that are harmful to one's body. Knowledge on sex education should be learned in school institutions that have the capability of teaching it.
Hello, Ma'am Ed. This is Jayamay Kadahang, and now I would like to share to you our group's position. Sex education is an important component of a high school education that should be taught to all students. According to state policies on sex education in schools, more than 47% of high school students have acknowledged to having sex, and 15% have already had sex with 4 or more partners as of 2011. This figure depicts the current level of sexual activity among students. We should make it a point for students to be aware about their behaviors, just like controlling oneself, and to practice safe sex because they are making the decision to be sexually active.
Question. We have 3 questions. First question, how can students gain knowledge about the impact in sex and life? The pursuit of knowledge is never ending. The day you stop seeking knowledge is the day you stop growing. A state by Cashew Andy. The knowledge of a person comes from the education that can be learned in school. Subjects like health, Filipino, math, and science are taught in school, which can benefit the youth in the near future. Sex education can also be beneficial as well as this subject. Sex education teaches about the human bodily development and sexual health. Science Daily 2015. It is also orient teenagers about decision making with regards to sex. Bridge and Hauser 2008. Through this, it would benefit the youth in such a way that they would understand the impact of sex. Second question, would you be exposed to the possibilities of sex abuse? Sex abuse is one of the many problems we're faced here in the Philippines. It is described as an unwanted sexual activity wherein individual takes advantage of a victim. American Psychologists Association 2016. This act could leave a great impact to the victim that can result to trauma and depression. Rain 2009. Some victims are capable of committing suicide after the incident. These issues support the fact that sex education should be taught to teenagers so they would be exposed to the possibilities of sex abuse. Through this, they would have the capability to distinguish a good touch or a bad touch. Day 2015. These youth be more exposed to unhealthy relationships that should be avoided. Bridge and Hauser 2014. Therefore, teenager would develop the skills of negotiating and refusal that would be a big help when involved in this kind of abusive situation. Makian 2006. So the third question is from Gemry. That's all.
So question number 3. Does sex education violate Christian's principle? So sex education is seen to give a lot of benefit for some, but others strongly disagree to pursue this as subject in school. The Catholic Church opposes sex education to be taught in school because it violates some Bible teaching. One of the reasons is that teenagers might engage in sex rather than to avoid it. But sex education is intended for students to gain knowledge from it and not encourage them to do it.
These are the evidences. According to Bourne and Robson in 2009 and 290, show how risk and trust are tightly connected in romantic nations of love. Low compliance with expert advice for safe-sex practices could be explained with the notion that it runs counter to the development of close, intimate relationships, where cessation of condom use is considered a symbolic marker for higher commitment and an exclusive relationship. Consequently, when partners feel safer in relationship, safe-sex practices decrease since they contradict the notion of a deep and trustful intimate relationship. Research on safe-sex practices is a good example to show how risk-taking practices are patterned by intersecting deeper social-structural forces. They explored the common observation that the poor and working class are disproportionately affected by the risk of unintended pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections. According to Batchelor 2007, argued in her studies on Scottish young women aged 16 to 24 years who had been convicted of violent offenses, that these young women's risk-taking was a way of regaining control of a life which was experienced as being largely out of control. They had experienced family problems and abuse and used risk-taking to achieve a semblance of control. These risks are taken because there are no positive alternatives to them, and choice is perceived as having an element of hope, according to Hyandrem 2006. The risk-taker does not see any other desirable alternatives and feels pressed to make a decision in a situation that is experienced as unbearable.
Conclusion. Sex education is a subject that must be pushed through in school institutions because of the infinite benefits it could give to young individuals. Sex education is basically the teaching of human sexual behavior. And lastly, education can help teenagers with learning disabilities to control themselves as well as preventing others for abusing them sexually. They can also understand better about sexual relationships and their body.